The book of Genesis details that a great flood hit our planet. The book details the following. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. End quote. Believers have long said the flood did happen, and that various discoveries have proven that the Great Flood was a real event. NASA confirmed the presence of limestone and ocean marine fossils at the top of Mount Everest, and believers have said this is the proof that they've been waiting for. Watch Jerusalem, a religious site, said the following about the discovery. If you were to entirely smooth everything on Earth, leveling mountains and filling in valleys and sea trenches, this sea would not only cover everything, but the dry land would be submerged some 1.5 miles deep. So yes, there is enough water on Earth to cover the existing landmass, let alone by the 7 meters the Bible says that Noah's flood prevailed above the highest peak. The question then must be asked, what are ancient fish doing atop Mount Everest? Is this evidence of the flood? Evidence of physics, certainly. End quote. NASA though hasn't got on board with the idea that the flood is behind the discoveries of fossils on Mount Everest, and says that the most likely answer is that they were found here because of plate tectonics. NASA continued with the following. The presence of limestone and ocean marine fossils at the top of these mountains is one of the key pieces of evidence cited that advance the idea of plate tectonics. Everest is the tallest of many extraordinarily high peaks in the Himalayas. The mountain range was formed when a large landmass broke off from Africa roughly 200 million years ago, and was carried by plate tectonics across what is now the Indian Ocean. When this landmass came close to Asia, it started to push up the land ahead of it, forming a large shallow ocean with rich ocean life. The bones and shells of the plants and animals in this shallow ocean form limestone and left fossils. As the landmass continued to plough north and collide with Asia, the ocean was slowly raised up and drained, eventually being lifted up to form the Himalaya mountains. The landmass, which is still moving north and facing the land ahead of it upwards, is known as the Indian subcontinent. The presence of limestone and ocean marine fossils at the top of these mountains is one of the key pieces of evidence cited that advance the idea of plate tectonics, large chunks of the Earth's surface moving over molten rock in the Earth's core, when it was first proposed as a theory in 1915. End quote. Scientists carried on and said that this region is a hotspot for fossils and other marine life, saying that groups of archaeologists often venture out to these areas in order to study past life, and note that these discoveries have nothing to do with a biblical flood. Interestingly though, not every scientist is against the idea of the flood, and have said that at one point in time our world may have been hit with some type of flood, and this in turn has been the inspiration of many of these stories. Recent discoveries by underwater archaeologists suggest this event ended up sinking many cities. One such finding was made off the coast of Turkey, where researchers found traces of ancient civilizations dating back to the time of Noah. One thing that's interesting is that many civilizations talk about a great flood, and some of these are even documented. Some scientists don't actually doubt that this happened, but have suggested it may not have been as massive as it's made out. For example, one theory is that the Great Flood could have been the flooding of the Black Sea, and researchers have said that rising water levels happened in this region around 7,000 years ago. Again, scientists know that there was an event that sank cities. After all, several underwater ancient cities have been discovered in recent years. It's the magnitude of the event that people can't seem to agree on. Woods Hole Oceanic Institution said the following about the alleged flood. Now, a new study in the issue of Science Review suggests that if the flood occurred at all, it was much smaller, hardly of biblical proportions. Livia Guzian of Woods Hole's Oceanic Institution and Philip Florin and Stefan Constantinescu found evidence that Black seawater sea levels rose only 5 to 10 meters, and this was around 9,400 years ago, not 50 to 60 meters as previously proposed. The flood would have drowned only around 2,000 square kilometers of land, rather than the 70,000 square kilometers. End quote. However, Robert Ballard, one of the world's best-known underwater archaeologists, detailed his findings that were made in Turkey. His dive teams had been investigating areas around Turkey that date back to the time of Noah. Ballard has a great track record for making discoveries that others couldn't. In fact, going back in 1985, he and his team sent down some robotic rovers that were equipped with some of the best cameras around, and they were able to locate one of the most famous ships of all time, the Titanic. Since then, he's used these advanced underwater robots to answer some of the world's biggest questions, one of which is, did a great flood ever happen? He said the following: "Where I live in Connecticut, there's ice a mile above my house, all the way back to the North Pole, around 50 million kilometers. That's a big ice cube. But then when it started to melt, we're talking about the flood of our living history. The question is, was there a mother of all floods? We went in there to look for the flood, not just a slow-moving advancing rise of sea level, but a really big flood that then stayed. The land that went under stayed under." End quote. Ballard said that he thinks his team were able to pinpoint a timeline for when this event happened, saying that it likely occurred around 5000 BC, and even some experts backed up these claims, saying that this is likely when Noah's flood would have occurred. So what do you make of these recent discoveries and announcements? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.